David Wong. Don't be confused. I was not in the Warriors. Okay, but I did work on a show called Star Trek Voyager. For those of you watching that, so thank you for all the Star Trek fans. But today we're here for a panel about the Warriors. One of the side things that I've been doing at these different conventions is I've been offering my services as a celebrity moderator or host because I enjoy doing this because I am a geek at heart. So all the things that you guys love are probably things that I love. So this is just me doing my thing. So without further ado, let's bring out. We have two of the Warrior cast members. David from the Warriors, who play Cochise.
If you can come, suckers!
So. Oh, they got the music in the background too. That's good. That is good. All right. Put your hands together for Mr. Michael Beck. Swan himself is gracing his presence. And I'm also, believe it or not, this is my first time ever. I'm going to bring out my wife Megan too to sit here with us at the table because the two gentlemen said it's always nice to have a beautiful lady at the table.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Megan Cassidy, round of applause for her, please. Thank you. You sit right next to Michael over here. There you go. Put your chair out. There you go. Okay. You nervous?
No.
Okay. Good. All right. I think all of you guys remember the first time you saw Warriors. It was just definitely one of those movies where you're rooting for the home team, and they just go through hurdle after hurdle, obstacle after obstacle. But still, an amazing film, and both of these gentlemen contributed to that film. And across the board, I think the acting and just the mood overall, gentlemen, you nailed it, definitely. So thank you so much for what you guys did. Thank you. Everyone, round of applause for these two guys. Okay, so we can. Do we have any microphones set up for questions from the audience here?
Right here.
We do. Okay. Oh, there's one right here. Do you actually have questions, or were you just doing like a school? I think it might have been a school thing. Yeah. There's a 7-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old right here. And I'm going to raise my hand. The girl.
And I hope they haven't seen the movie.
And I hope they have not seen the movie.
We have our kids here, but we're the kids right now.
Oh, they're the kids. Well, if you guys have a question, yes? Come on. What have you always wanted to ask these two gentlemen about the movie Warriors? Everyone has questions.
Well, we probably we have a lot of questions probably, but one that I wanted to ask you was the cover, or the movie poster. It has, it actually has Cochise with Cleon's headgear, and I think also, what is it? I don't know. I think Rembrandt also right behind him, and but Cleon's not on there. And then Swan has a headband, he never wears one in the movie, and then like Berman has like no hair. So what did you guys think about that cover when it first came out?
And Burt Reynolds is in the original one. He's back there in the background.
No.
Yes.
He's in the movie poster?
He's in the movie poster, and a second run of it was made without him. But
Okay.
so I have no idea why Burt was in there. But yeah, I know that Terry Michaels, who played Vernon, was extremely upset when he saw his face and a bald head. It was just the artists, several artists submitted work for the poster. In fact, I ran into a guy called John Gentile on the subway probably about 6 months after the movie opened, and he was a New York artist who had submitted. And he took me to his loft, and he gave me 2 of his original drawings that I gave to both of my kids. He wasn't selected, though I did like his work very much. But, who knows why the artist chose to do what he did. But, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things, like the Mercy character is a composite of 2 different girls. She's a Lizzie orphan. It's kind of strange. Yeah. But none of us have any answers to why. But I do remember Michael being ticked, don't you?
Yeah, he was not happy.
You didn't mind the hairdresser.
No, actually, I did mind it. I mean, I was like, well, I don't look like Cleon or Cochise.
Yeah. Did you say that to them at the shoot, though? Did you say, hey, that's not, my character doesn't have that? Did you say that to them during the shoot, or no? When they took that. Oh, they just edited that in. That was their artwork.
It's on the movie.
the poster.
movie poster.
You had no say about it until you saw
No,
it.
like Mike said, whoever they chose to do the poster.
How many artists actually ended up sending stuff in?
I have no idea.
No idea. Wow, that's amazing. But still a very effective poster, though. You know, the one that the final poster they used, I thought definitely. I remember just looking at it because there's so much going on in the poster. So you're looking and looking. It's almost like a word's balled up.
Walter Hill is in it, the director. He's back in the back with a little headdress kind of thing on.
Really?
So yeah, there are all kinds of little things that are in there. But Burt Reynolds was my favorite.
Yeah.
How do you ever got in there? Who knows? Like Mike said.
Burt Reynolds. What character was he supposed to play?
Just a gang guy.
Gang guy. All right. Okay. All right. We have another question over here in front, second row. Yes, sir.
Hello, welcome Albuquerque.
Thank you.
My question is to both of you guys. One, how was it filming The Warriors, being an all night shoot, all taking place at night? And is there any interesting stories that you guys have during the filming of it?
Okay, Mike. You go ahead. It was a challenge making that movie. We shot 80 nights. We actually began principal photography and shot for probably about a week to 10 days in the daylight, kind of introducing the characters of the Warriors. But as the movie continued to shoot and they were editing at the same time, Walter Hill decided that it really made more sense for that movie to start in darkness, and the only time you see light is in the morning when they have the confrontation, so that early work was scrapped. So we shot 80 nights. So for me, and it was a challenging movie because it was, as you can tell from looking at it, it was an athletic movie. We ran a marathon every night, or we were fighting or whatever. So, and Walter has said in his own interviews that not only did he cast actors that he thought could play the parts, but he kept in mind how rigorous it was going to be to do this movie. So he needed people that were not going to break down over 4 months of shooting. I kind of looked at it this way because we were shooting on a 5-day shooting schedule, so we had the weekends off, and I didn't even turn around. We would meet at the Gulf and Western building around 5:30, 6 o'clock. This is the middle of summer in New York, so it didn't get dark until 9. So we would be driven in a minivan to wherever the location was in the Bronx or Brooklyn or Manhattan, wherever it was. They'd feed us, we'd do hair and makeup and put on our wardrobe and just kind of wait around till they got us set up, and it was dark. And we shot till the sun came up, and they would drive us back and let us back off at the Gulf and Western building. On weekends, I had to find things to do. Of course, New York City is not just a 24-hour city, but I thought, I'm not going to go to sleep at a regular time, so I just stayed up. Yep. I felt like I was in Australia. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough shoot, but thank God, as Mike said, Walter hired actors that not only could they act, but they could physically do this movie. And I know I would get up, I would get off when we got back at, the sun was up, and I didn't even want to go to sleep. It was like, what am I going to do, And I laid down, say, around about 1 o'clock and slept till like maybe 4, got up, and it was basically almost time to get ready to go back on 59th Street at the Paramount building, start shooting again. So, but we had a lot of fun. We really had a lot of fun. It was hard work, but we had a lot of fun. We became very, very good friends. All the guys in our honorary warriorette, Deborah von Valkenburg. It was just a pleasure, working with Walter. It's just a gem of a director and a person.
The year that it came out was
1979.
79. You weren't alive yet. He wasn't alive yet. You've seen it though, right? What was your impression of the film when you first saw it? I'm just curious.
I was young though watching it.
Okay.
Yeah. My oldest brother is 12 years older than me, so I was forced to watch almost anything horror, sci-fi, Quentin Tarantino. So going from Pulp Fiction at the age 5, 6 to this, it was lighter. My
Warriors
of
was
cake.
lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Pulp Fiction.
He's like, oh my God, Warriors is like a children's show.
Exactly.
I've been watching Pulp Fiction. Your brothers basically mentally tortured you.
Pretty much.
I have to have a talk with them. Okay. But gentlemen, one of the things I find always interesting to hear about is the story of how we got cast in the role. Because there's usually, other people involved, like so-and-so almost was offered the role and this happened and I woke up late and missed the first audition. I mean, things like that. Can you both speak to how when you first got cast, anything odd that happened?
Sure.
Well, I know I was the last Warrior to be cast. I was doing a play in Minneapolis called Streamers. Wonderful playwright David Rabe, and apparently Walter didn't find anybody he liked for Cochise. So I walked in. I came back, and my agent said, "Hey, listen, David, they're doing this little gang movie in New York called The Warriors, and the director hasn't found anybody that he'd like for this character. Go up for it." Went up for it. I walked in there, and it was Walter Hill and Frank Marshall in the room, and I had my stuff ready, to read for Walter.
Yeah.
I prepared 2 scenes and blah blah blah. And Walter kind of does this kind of thing. He's a toothpick, and that's what he does, And he's kind of sat down, he looks at me, and he looks at me, and he goes, and I'm ready to do my bit, He goes,
They're just looking at you.
Yeah, and he's looking at me going, and he's looking at Frank Marshall, he's executive producer, and I'm going, wait a minute, And he goes, "Brown wardrobe."
Wow.
I said,
you didn't
I didn't read nothing.
one line of the
No, he
oh
goes,
my God.
"Go on wardrobe."
Ladies and gentlemen, the luckiest human being on the planet sitting across
Just
from
like
me.
that,
I
just
gotta
like-
be honest, as
after
an actor,
he must have saw
Michael,
these-
you'll say the same thing. No actor walks in, doesn't say one line, one word of the script, and gets cast. That's incredible.
I mean,
You had it going on, brother.
I guess something was
internally, didn't
working.
you?
Something was working.
So there was no lap dance involved or anything like that
none
that
of
coerced
that.
him.
Nah,
He
I
just
didn't pay
looked
nothing
at
under
you.
the table,
You didn't know
nothing.
You didn't.
Nah.
He
I mean, I
looked at
just
you
looked
with
at
the
me.
toothpick.
It's the toothpick,
up and down,
like
up
up and down. And he said,
Wardrobe.
"Go down to wardrobe."
Wow.
And I said, I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I walked down there and I ran out the building and called because there was no cell phone.
Yes.
I didn't have one.
Right.
And
You
I
got paid for
called
call
my
your
agent.
agent?
Said, hey, the director just told me to go down to wardrobe. What does that mean? Wait a minute. Am I going to be a wardrobe guy on this movie? Is he hiring me to, bring costumes out to actors? Is that it? He goes, "No, you smuck. I gave you a job." And I went back in the building, down a wardrobe, and I said, "Walter sent me down here and said, yeah, we got the call."
Yeah.
And that's when I met these guys, and Michael tell you about something I was doing to impress these guys.
Yeah.
I'm flexing, Michael.
Yeah, I remember.
But that's how I got cast.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, Michael, how did you get cast?
I had trained as an actor in the UK, in London, and had worked for a couple of years in repertory theater in England. So I was 5 years in England with a kind of classical acting background, and had come back to New York and had been in New York about a year when The Warriors was being cast. So the casting directors, Fewer and Ritzer, Jeremy, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Howard, yeah, Jeremy and Howard were casting it, and they knew me because they had cast me in some theater productions. So they saw me as this kind of anglicized Shakespearean actor and did not see me as a New York street gang guy. So my agents were trying to, because every actor of the right age group was trying to be cast in this movie. And they would not see me. They would not allow me to be seen by Walter and Larry Gordon and Frank Marshall because they just didn't think I was right for it. Yeah. And my agents kept trying to break that door down, but no, he's not right. He's this English actor guy. So Walter Hill, who was a producer on a movie called Alien. You guys remember that movie, Alien? And he went to see a screening of an independent movie called Madman because Sigourney Weaver, that was the only film, that was her first film, and it was the only film that they could see of her. Well, it so happened that I played the titular role. I played the madman in this movie that was shot in Israel. And so Walter got to see me in the lead role in a movie, and he went back and got in touch with the casting people and said, "Where's this Michael Beck guy? We want to see him." So you know, if he hadn't screened that movie to see Sigourney Weaver, there would be a different Swan. So I was very grateful, you know, and you know, I went in and I did actually have to read. I did actually have to say words and do the scenes.
Okay. Well, I also think that when they didn't want to see you in the beginning, you know, they were kind of, it seems like they were latching on to this stereotypical idea of what a gang member was. You know, like, okay, he's got to look like he's a little gristled, or he's got to be a little this. And you had more refined, more model GQ kind of looks. But the bottom line is, anybody can fall into a life of a gang, whether you're, you're a GQ-looking guy or the guy that only a mother could love, right? I mean, there's all the spectrum can be a gang person. But they looked at him and thought, oh, and he's English. They don't know anything about gangs or crime there. They don't have firearms, you know. But it's not true. There's soccer hooligans. You could have drawn upon that type of.
They invented
background.
the headbutt.
Yeah, the headbutt, exactly. Although I did remember watching an episode of Cops, the reality show in England. They were in London, and I just remember they were answering this call, and he runs up to this house and goes, "All right, we're responding to a distress call right now." And he goes over to the thing, and the lady's screaming, and she's like, "Oh, he's not." He's like, "Yes, ma'am. Where is he? Where is he now?" And she's like, "He's around the corner." Right, around the corner. And he starts running. The camera's following him. He stops and he runs back to the lady. One more question. Does he have a weapon? Like that. And then, so it was so like, you know, not, you know, da, da, da. It was very this British type of crime, you know, in a way. It was, and so I can see how they can say, oh, he's English, or he's not going to be able to play this role. But you killed it, though, you know. You really did. It was great that they found you. And if he didn't see that production, that movie that you did, he never would have called.
Yeah, probably. Well, the casting directors were they were an obstacle in the path of my getting seen.
Gotcha.
So Walter saw the movie that I'd done for other reasons, and you know, the rest is history.
Well, out of curiosity, do you even know if there was someone else that looked more like the heavy that was in consideration?
Oh, I don't think it had to do. It didn't have to do with what I looked like.
Okay.
It had to do with the casting directors saw me more as a classical actor doing Shakespeare and Chekhov and not being a street gang guy.
Right.
I don't think it had to do with the way that I looked. It had to do their perception of the type of actor I was.
Right.
As opposed to I'm just an actor who can play roles.
Whatever it is,
exactly.
You can do it. You know? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, another question out there. Get your hands up. Anybody? It's so dark in here. Oh, there's someone in the back row. This is a really nice theater, guys, isn't it?
Can you guys bring up the house lights
Just a little
bit
that's
so
good,
we can see people?
There we go.
There we go. That's great.
Thank you.
Hi, I was wondering, since this was done in '79, obviously there weren't any CGI stuff. So I was wondering for your stunts, how physically demanding were those, and did you do any of it yourself?
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. We did a lot of running and we had a group of people from California Walter brought in called Stunts Unlimited. They were a bunch of professional stunt guys, and they taught us how to take a punch and throw a punch and blah, blah, blah. But basically, we did most of our stuff. You know, it's not doubles and all that.
You guys had no doubles?
No, we had.
No, I would say the only things that were doubled, when Vermin is thrown into the mirror in the fight in the bathroom, that was a stunt double going into the mirror. But any fighting, I wasn't doubled on anything.
No.
So it sounds like 95% of the action was you guys doing.
Yeah, and we were at the time, most of us, well, all of us were unknown actors. Therefore, the insurance risk is not as high as if you got,
Tom Cruise
Robert Redford playing it. That's a high premium. But now there were some injuries in the movie. I mean, most of us just got bumps and bruises, but the one who sustained the most injury was Deborah Van Valkenburg.
Wow.
Deborah, if you guys remember the scene where Swan and Mercy are in the subway station, and there's a lone cop coming down the platform toward them, and Swan takes a baseball bat and hits him in the shins, and they run down the track for the infamous kiss. Deborah, all of these stunts are like dances. You block everything out so nobody gets hurt. Well, Deborah, I had to take her like this and put her behind me, and she had to hit specific marks, and then which are out of the arc of the bat coming back. Oh. She didn't land on her mark. She landed elsewhere, and I'm not looking at her. I'm just believing that she's where she's supposed to be. So I swing that bat back, and it hit her right above this eyebrow. Oh. So for the rest of the movie, or at least until it had healed, Wardrobe would take spirit gum, and they would glue that spit curl on Mercy right over where the stitches were. Oh. But that's not even, the story gets worse. In that same subway, they shot the scenes out of sequence, but in that same subway station where the fox gets killed and Mercy's running with the fox, she's running with a stunt double, not Tom Waits, and they're coming down the stairs and she trips and breaks her arm. Hence, she's got a cast on her arm. That's why she wears the blue. You know, Swan asks her, "Where you got this blue thing on?" They're looking for somebody in a pink top. Well, they're not. They don't want the people to know she's got a cast on her arm for 6 weeks. You know, so Deborah got hurt badly, but she was a trooper. She was there till the end.
My God! But it sounds like everything happened to her, right?
It did.
So I could say this. She was the Ensign Kim, which is my character, of the Warriors. Like everything happened to her in my show. Every torture, everything was my character.
Exactly.
So that's pretty fun. Yeah. Huh. Thank you for that. Okay, another question out here. Be brave, be bold. Okay, we have one in the front and one in the fourth row there. Give the guy with the baseball cap first. That'll be his first question. So can you just do a karate leap and flip over those 2 rows and just get, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Hello, welcome. I just want to say you guys look great. As the time has passed, you guys still look so young and healthy.
Thank you.
You want these readers?
Thank you. A couple of questions. I'm sure I could look up on the internet and find a lot of this out, but did they ever do a Warriors 2? Did that ever come about? Do you think maybe you could do one nowadays and still do the same story, or do you think there would be a follow-up? Like this is, how Mercy and the life ended post, that night.
You're talking about a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was the director, Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, who had the script and was supposed to be doing a remake of The Warriors. It was going to be out west in California, whole different kind of genre with, cars, and it would have never looked like New York. But he passed away, so that died. And now there's these 2 brothers called the Russo brothers, I believe, right, Mike? That I think they are attempting to do a TV series for Hulu or one of those cable things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know what's going on with it. Unless Mike knows more, I don't know.
No, there was a press release in late August or early September saying that the Russo brothers were planning to do a TV series of the Warriors. Who knows what that would be like or where. But in answer to, because I think you were also asking, was there ever any thought of making a sequel to see where these characters went? That never was, to my knowledge, I've never heard anything back in the day, or, now they would just have to find us in the old folks' home with our walkers, but, we could fight with canes. Instead of laser sabers, we could fight with canes and throw our colostomy bags at each other or whatever. Sorry, that was out of. I apologize for that. But anyway, no, I've never heard of anything. There was never any talk of a sequel, but there has been talk of a remake. Though most of the hardcore fans that I've talked to through the years are not very gung-ho on there being a remake. So, I'm not a big fan of remakes anyway, but, James Remar was with us on the last Q&A we did, and he made some valid points that if a remake is made of any movie, including The Warriors, that, if it pays homage to the original movie and they tell that story well, then, there's validity in that. So, you know, I wouldn't argue with that. But personally, I don't really ever want to see a remake of that movie.
I don't think any of the fans would want to see a remake of the movie. They'd like to see a sequel. I would like to see what happened to the characters, you know. Or you do a prequel, you do anything, you jump around, but you don't need to remake that, right? No, not at all. When he was saying to you how great you guys looked and you're so healthy, and you said, "Oh, what about my readers?" My mind is always thinking Saturday Night Live skit, Saturday Night Live skit. And I just imagine, I go, "What about my readers?" And this hearing aid.
Well, here they are. They're right there, buddy.
Top one right there. And then you start pulling all these things. My false teeth, and then my one.
No, my teeth are good.
Oh,
they're good.
No, the teeth are good.
But I can take off this artificial limb.
You unscrew your arm and put it down. Other than that, I'm very healthy and fine. You know, I saw that image going on. So sorry for that. All right, your other question in the front here, please.
So I have actually a question and then a comment. The question was, I just thought this was kind of cool, but it was when you ran from the orphans, and then you ran into the train, right? And but no one was following you. It was when Deborah said, "What about me?" and Ajax says, well, "What about you?" It was like right before that. So right when you ran into somebody, you got in first, and then the fox came with Deborah, and you did this really cool thing where you like hooked her when she came in. Did you plan that, or?
Yes, I'll tell you why. The original script that we started shooting, the fox was supposed to end up with Mercy. There was a different storyline for Swan, who eventually hooks back up with the guys at the same ending on the beach. But what happened was, and this would be something if Thomas were here he could address more, there was just a lot of tension between Thomas and the directors and producers, and there just came a point when Walter and Larry Gordon just thought, you know, enough. Wow. We just can't go any further down the road the way we're going. So David will remember it as well. There was one night we showed up on the set, and Walter and Larry Gordon, mainly Larry Gordon because he was the producer, took it. We were all kind of just standing out between the makeup and wardrobe trailers, out on the, just standing outside, and he came up and said, "Well, we basically said we fired Thomas Waits. The Fox is no longer in this movie, and Swan's going to get Mercy, and da-da-da-da-da," and that was kind of it. I mean, there was not a whole lot of explanation, and we're all kind of looking at each other going, what just happened? So that scene that you're talking about was filmed after that news, so, that's when...
you did that cool little trick. There was a trick that you did in there, too.
Yeah.
Where she was going straight.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you...
Oh, you're talking about the actual, I have no...
That was good to know, but then you did an actual,
Yeah, I hooked her arm. Yeah.
Did she expect that? It looked like she didn't.
Huh?
It looked in the movie like she didn't expect that.
I don't think she did. I don't think she did, because I think I was kind of told on this. I think Walter came and told me on the side because they had not... Actually, that was filmed prior to the announcement of Thomas being fired, but the director and producer already knew it was going to go that way. And I think Walter on the side, not telling me why, just said, when Fox and Mercy come on the train, I want you to grab her. And that's why she didn't know about it. And, and I just did what I'm an actor. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. But at that point, I didn't know really why either. That's kind of how it all worked out, yeah.
And then the comment is, and my brother and I both agree, out of any movie ever made, ever, after Cleon's talking at the very beginning about going to see Cyrus, and then the way you guys walked into the subway, that was like the coolest scene there ever was, ever. And you see just your backs walking into the subway. We better have to go look for ourselves.
Well, thank you.
You two need your own like YouTube channel. These are like the fanboys right here they're in the front row. They're like, and that scene, Michael, was amazing. You too. Oh my God. I mean, I love that. That energy is amazing. I just remember watching the movie as, you know, when I first saw it when I was younger. I was probably 79, so I was 11. But when I first saw Warriors, I remember just seeing all the different representations of different types of gangs, different ethnicities, different everything. And then when I rewatched it recently, Warriors, I was watching the movie, and then they show like a picture of the Asian gang, right? And they're all wearing these goofy hats. I'm like, why would they get the goofy hats? Because I'm Asian. You know, it's
exactly.
It's like whenever I'm driving behind a horrible driver and I come next to him and I realize it's an Asian person, I go, you're ruining it for me! You're ruining it! I get so upset. So the same thing happened in Warriors.
Yeah, why didn't they have the nunchucks?
They had nunchucks, like ninja-like stuff wearing. It would have been really cool.
It would have been a lot
their nunchucks, like the guys.
But they had the little, the fedoras.
Do you remember the Asian gang in the movie The Wanderers, right?
Oh,
the Wongs like that.
Wongs.
Those guys were cool. Like they could hear you from a distance. They came in and. So it was just, you know, those were a cool gang. But the Warriors representation of the Chinese, you know, American gang was horrible. They looked like Tibetan, you know, sheep herder hats or something like that. And I thought, what are these guys gonna do? We're the Asian gang. We are going to herd you. We will herd you this way, then this way. We will make you get on the wrong train to Brooklyn. You know, I mean, like, that's all they can. That's all they can do.
Very funny.
And I was really bummed about that. So. If there was a remake, I would make sure you better make the Asian gang look cool.
Exactly.
You know, like samurai helmets or something like that. And the fanboys like that, I guess. See? All right. The question in the back over here, and there's a gentleman over here. So who had their hand up first? I don't know. And thank you for signing for us. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yep.
So, probably not the Asian gang you were just talking about, but I did read that you know, there are so many people in this movie that there were some actual gangs that were sort of involved with protecting the set and so forth. I guess I just wanted to see if you guys had any interaction with kind of the, you know, that sort of group that was in the background. And also, on that note, a lot of those areas are really gentrified now, but I imagine in 1979, some of those areas might have been a little scary to film in, so I wanted to see if you had any anecdotes or stories about filming in the Bronx and Brooklyn and so forth in the middle of the night.
Yeah, well, the answer to, what was your first question again? Say it again?
Real games that were
well, the big conclave scene where we're up to go to see Cyrus, he's going to unite all the gangs. There were a lot of extras there. And they went into the communities to get these kids, and there were a lot of real gangs in that big scene. But they had such good crowd control that basically nothing really happened, but they were real gangs in that scene. And see, I was born and raised in New York on Lower East Side. And New York, a lot of the areas don't look like that anymore. Like 42nd Street is nothing but Disneyland. It's not what it was back in the day with the pimps and the hoes and the drug dealers and this and that and everything else that you can imagine on 42nd Street and around that area. That's all
pre-Giuliani days.
Yeah, pre-Giuliani days. That's all change. That's all change. I mean, you can walk around there at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's going to accost you. Nobody's going to mug you. Nobody's going to bother you. They got more plain clothes police there. No, the city is just really went through a metamorphosis. It's not the same anymore. And a lot of the areas that we shot in were tough. You know, there was one point we were in Spanish Harlem, and we had to take our colors off. It was a local gang. Remember that, Mike?
I do.
They said, no, get the colors off.
Wow.
When you're not shooting, get those colors off. You guys have a problem. So at lunch, the little pretty vest went off, and the shirts came on. You know, because they were very, very, very adamant about that. You don't walk in our neighborhood with these colors if you're not shooting.
Even though you're actors portraying gang members, they didn't care.
Well, it was just, you know, it was their turf, so they just wanted to exercise their muscle, you know. And, you know, what generally happened, like and I'm sure that's still true today, shooting in New York especially, but most cities, it's all really, it's this. You know, the location manager goes around to the local head honcho of wherever it is and passes a little cash, and everything goes smoothly. But I remember a time when we set up for a shot one night, and it was in the Bronx, and it was, Walter wanted to use this particular location because lining both sides of the street were derelict buildings. There were, you know, these are buildings that are probably 5-6-story buildings, and the windows are gone, all 5 floors up, 10 houses down the, you know, row houses down the block. So, you know, when you pan that camera, it's just, it looks like Dresden after World War II. It's just like a bombed out area. So we, you know, they come and they wet down the streets because Andy Laszlo, the cinematographer, always had the streets wet down. You know, so, you know, a New York City with no people and wet streets. But it was beautiful. It was cool. It was not real, but it was cool. So the streets are wet down, and all we're going to shoot in this, you know, we've gone to this location specifically to do one thing. The Warriors, just as a traveling shot of us walking through this desolate place. So it would just be a little clip like that in the movie. We, you know, and then we're going to move on somewhere else. Everything, you know, hours spent setting this up to shoot something that's going to be less than 5 seconds in the movie. We get set up, we get ready, action is called, and all of these windows that have no glass or anything in it fill up with gang kids who start yelling and screaming. We ended up having to move the circus somewhere else and didn't get that shot because they would not allow us. Wow. And they waited, they were smart, they waited till action. Right. And then they did that. You remember that, David?
I remember that.
They were all in the windows and
like whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole.
It was like, what? It was crazy.
And we had to leave.
So that was half a shooting day wasted. You know.
Gone.
Yeah,
they couldn't pay those guys off either?
Huh?
You give them a couple of ducats?
Well, there was a talking to the location manager, who was Chinese, by the way. No, he didn't wear one of those hats.
No, he didn't wear one of those.
Okay, just checking. Just checking. No, as an actor, it reminds me of I went on an audition for a USC graduate student film, and I had to go down to USC South Central to audition for this. I parked my car on the side of the street, and the character I was auditioning for was kind of a bit of a street kid, so I decided to wear a bandana that day. Stupid me, I chose the color blue. Okay, so I got this blue bandana on. And I'm reading the script, the signs. I'm walking along the sidewalk, and I realized I stopped because there's 2 sets of tennis shoes that I'm looking at, and they both have red shoelaces in them. Right? So I'm going, oh no, and I look up, and it's 2 13, 14-year-old girls looking at me, and the first thing they say is like, "You a Crip?" That's all I heard. Yeah. "You a Crip?" And I went, "Me? No, me. I'm an actor. What? This is just a stupid bandana. I don't need this. I can tap dance for you. I can sing. Look at this. Shakespeare, to be or not." I was doing everything I can do to entertain these 2 13-year-olds from shivving me, right? I'm thinking, I am not a Crip. I'm an actor. So I went through that whole little thing. And they're serious about it. You can't even play, you know. They gave me the eye, stink eye, the whole way I walked past them. They let me go, though. So thank you if you're out there anywhere. Hear this.
Were the wheels on your car when you got back?
The car was gone. The wheels were gone. There you go. Megan, I just want to not leave you out the whole time. I want to ask you, what were your most memorable moments from watching that film? Did you have a favorite character?
Or were you still, resonating from Pulp Fiction?
Oh my goodness. Actually, my favorite character was Swan.
Aww. Well, he's right there.
Hey.
Sorry, David.
That's okay. I came in a second place, though, right?
Yes.
Yes, second place.
Yes,
Cochise is second.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, my favorite moment, I can't even think of it.
Okay. But you liked the film, though, right?
I did. I enjoyed it. Good. I liked a lot of the scenes near the train.
In the subway.
Yeah, the subway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Other than the Warriors, did you have a favorite gang?
Oh my goodness. You're going to want me to say something.
No, I'm not. You do whatever you go.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Okay. I would say, just to go into my most memorable moment, is got to be just, and I want to know if it was in the script, when he starts clinking the bottles together, Is that actually written in the script when he's going?
No. David
Yeah.
Patrick Kelly, the
pretty
actor
good?
who did it. David Patrick Kelly, who did it.
Yeah.
We didn't even know that. We didn't know that.
So
we
he
had no
improvised
idea.
that.
He improvised that, and it was so brilliant.
Genius.
It was just so brilliant. So
Genius.
as an actor to do that, and if you watch the reaction shots on each one of us when he was doing that, and his voice is going up octave after octave after
higher,
higher.
Yeah.
Because Walter shot us reacting first.
Really?
Because he
Then
knew that something was going to happen. So we were hearing it for the first time standing under that.
Such a genuine reaction from all of you,
Like,
which was, you're all freaked out by it, obviously. It's just the most
and just
bone-chilling.
Brilliant.
But I learned, I think it was only last year, or within the last 18 months, because I'd always wondered where David had come up with that. And I can't remember who told me, but David had told them, and it was a friend of David's, who he had a guy in his neighborhood where he lived on a second-story fire escape, an old guy who was into the sauce every night, and David would be coming back from the theater or whatever, coming home, and the guy would just have 3 bottles, clicking them, and just ranting at, like New Yorker, winos do, ranting at the neighborhood. And he filed it away.
And that
It
was from
went
that
in
guy.
the file.
Amazing.
And he brought it out at the right moment.
I really want to know if that guy was actually in the movie theater watching Warriors and the clicking scenes going on. And he's sitting there like, that looks like me. I think I did that. Where's my royalties?
Where's my residuals?
But that's amazing. He used that one moment in time. That old dude.
That's what actors do. Actors are observers of humanity and people,
human nature.
and they take things, and sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it, but we're observing, and it goes in a file in there, and you get a roll sometime, and all of a sudden that file opens. You don't go and look for the file. It just opens, and you have this behavior that you've observed somewhere in real life. Then it becomes real. It's not a made-up behavior. You've observed it. You've seen this. It's real life that's getting manifested now through your instrument. So that's what David did. I thought it was brilliant.
And in any film with conflict, you're only as good as your bad guy. And that actor really
he was a good one.
Because when his fate is sealed, everyone is so happy. As an audience, we'd be like, yes. Finally! And that only happens when someone does a great job. And that guy,
he was great.
What an amazing guy.
He's an amazing guy because he's multi-talented. He plays all these different instruments. He sings. Him and Deborah actually on Broadway this play called Hair. They did Hair together.
They starred together on Broadway, the two of them?
Prior to doing The Warriors.
Had no clue. So she had no fear of him at all then when they were filming, right? She already knew him.
But now David Patrick Kelly was extremely method guy. The few times that he was on the set, because usually the shooting schedule was set up to where, they were shooting the rogue stuff and it didn't have anything to do, but, with the conclave where we're all there together, and maybe a couple of other times prior to the confrontation at the end of the movie, they happened to be on the set at the same time that we were. He never said a word. Not a hello, how are you? He never said a word to any of us. In fact, to this day, I've never spoken to David Patrick Kelly.
Wow. So Michael's referring
other than the lines I said to him in the movie.
He's referring to method.
He was method. He was method all the way, man.
He totally stayed away from us.
This actor stays in character when they say cut. This character stays this actor stays in character when they are eating food from craft service. When they're in their trailer, they don't leave. They keep that character in them forever, right? So it's old school Stanislavski method.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing that Dustin Hoffman.
It's a whole lot of hard work.
It is a lot of hard work. And there was a famous line. It was, I think, in Dustin Hoffman in Omega Man or whatever.
No, Marathon Man.
Marathon Man. He's talking to Laurence Olivier. And he's been up for days because he's been tortured by Olivier's Nazi character or whatever. And then, so he looks haggard and everything, and Olivier looks at him and he goes, "My dear boy, have you ever considered trying acting?" Like,
It's a true story.
He's telling him, like,
True
you know,
story.
don't,
Yeah, sure.
why'd you
True
put your
story.
body through this hell? Just act like you're like in that
Right.
zone,
No,
right?
true story.
It's a true story, yeah. So,
But it works for him. He was awfully
Yeah,
good.
no, it worked. Yeah, it did. It did. It did work for the film, most definitely. We have another question over here. Yes, in the front, our fanboys, our new YouTube fanboy stars, right here in the front row.
He's picking on you guys, isn't he? But you don't mind.
No, not at all.
What are your names? What are your names? You are
Carlo.
Carlo.
And Lionel, my older brother. Lionel.
Lionel. So Lionel and Carlo, the fanboys.
And did he turn you on to the movie?
I was actually 4 years old.
He turned you on
wait,
at
did that
4?
beat you?
How old were you?
You beat Megan. You saw it at 4.
6 and 4?
How'd you guys get in?
6 and 4. How did you, at 6, get to see it the first time? Was it just lying around the house? Well, I'm going to stick this one
An
in.
older sibling that made you watch it?
No, we were at a friend's house, my parents, and then my parents they were actually my godparents and my parents, and then actually a girl, her name was Christina, she's like, there's a really cool movie called The Warriors, you want to see it? And I was like, oh.
She was the babysitter, right?
No, she was a year older than me.
She was what, 7? 7, 6, and 4. Let's watch The Warriors.
And I saw it, and right there I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my whole. And to this day, I remember when I was little, I used to like Dukes of Hazzard and Starsky and Hutch, but I don't remember my first movie. I remember is The Warriors.